You know, in the world of tarot, the court cards can sometimes feel a little mysterious. But today, we're going to zero in on the most action-oriented of them all, the knights. They're the warriors, the messengers, the ones who really make things happen in the deck. So let's find out what they have to teach us. So what can these four really dynamic figures teach us about how we approach our own goals, our own challenges? That's the big question, and that's exactly what we're here to break down. To get to that answer, we first have to understand what the knights represent as a whole, as a group. You can think of them as the great movers and shakers of the tarot deck. At its core, any knight card you pull is a call to action. It is all about forward momentum. Now, this could be some literal news coming your way, or it could be pointing to a person, maybe even an aspect of yourself that is totally fired up and just ready to charge ahead. You know, all four knights really share a common DNA. They're all about movement, bringing news, and they carry this youthful, super ambitious energy. But that last point is absolutely crucial. Their enthusiasm can slide right into impulsiveness. They're all gas, and sometimes there's just not enough brake. So, how does this core energy actually express itself? Well, it's time to meet the four very distinct warrior personalities of the tarot. Let's get into it. First up, we have the Knight of Wands. If you're looking for pure energy, passion, and that fearless leap right into the unknown, this is your guy. He is the total embodiment of the adventurer. The Knight of Wands is all about the element of fire, so think creative sparks, raw energy. He learns by doing, not by sitting around and planning. This makes him incredibly courageous and confident, but it's a double-edged sword for sure. That exact same fire can make him come off as arrogant, even impulsive, jumping into things without really thinking through the consequences. Okay, now let's shift gears from all that fire of action to the deep water of emotion. Meet the Knight of Cups. This knight isn't charging into a physical battle. No, he's on a quest guided entirely by his heart and his dreams. The Knight of Cups acts based on pure feeling. He's driven by his intuition, not by logic, which makes him super charming, romantic, and very expressive. But because he's such an idealist, he can get pretty moody or withdrawn when reality doesn't quite live up to those beautiful dreams he has in his head. And our third knight? He is all about the mind. The Knight of Swords moves with the speed of thought. He is the ultimate strategist, just cutting through all the confusion with pure intellect and incredible decisiveness. This knight is a true go-getter, right? He's driven by logic and really direct communication. He's quick-thinking and decisive, which is fantastic when you need to get things done like yesterday. But that speed, it can become reckless. His directness can feel aggressive to some, and yeah, his confidence can definitely border on arrogance. And finally, we arrive at our most grounded, most patient warrior, the Knight of Pentacles. He's not flashy, he's not fast, but he is absolutely the one you can count on to see a project through to the bitter end. This knight is driven by a very practical, methodical approach. He represents hard work, dedication, and responsibility. He's the builder, the one who lays the foundation, brick by painstaking brick. So what's his downside? Well, that slow and steady pace can sometimes become just slow. He can get stuck in his ways, becoming stubborn or even stagnant, just refusing to adapt. Okay, let's put the two extremes side by side to really see the contrast here. On one hand, you've got the Knight of Swords, all quick thoughts and lightning-fast action. On the other, the Knight of Pentacles, with his methodical, slow pace and practical dedication. Look, neither one is better than the other. They just represent two completely different ways of moving through the world and getting the mission done. So, we've met the knights in all their upright glory. But what happens when their energy gets blocked, or stuck, or just goes sideways? Let's explore their shadow side. When a knight appears reversed, it's like all that forward momentum just slams into a brick wall. The core energy of the card gets completely stifled. So instead of action, you get hesitation. Instead of progress, you get indecision. It's the knight stuck in the mud, totally unable to complete his quest. So here's how that actually plays out for each of them. The passionate Knight of Wands suddenly becomes afraid to take a risk, which leads to major procrastination. The romantic Knight of Cups pulls away, withdrawing emotionally. The sharp-witted Knight of Swords turns all that aggressive energy inward, bottling up anger. And the practical Knight of Pentacles? He becomes frozen, totally unable to take those concrete steps to move forward. Okay, we've covered the upright meanings and we've covered the reversed meanings. Now for the most important part. How do you actually interpret these messages when they pop up in a reading for you? The absolute key here is to always look at the context. What was your question? What other cards are sitting next to it? A reversed knight often points to some kind of internal conflict. That little voice of self-doubt that's holding you back. It's a huge signal of passive behavior, right when decisive action is needed, and it's asking you to take a hard look at where you might be hesitating or avoiding responsibility. And that brings us to our final question, one for you to think about. Which knight's energy are you channeling today, right now? Are you the passionate adventurer, the romantic dreamer, the sharp-witted strategist, or the practical builder? Understanding that, well, that can be an incredibly powerful tool for self-awareness.